Okay, good afternoon. My name is Jenny Spencer, and I'm a member of Cleveland City Council, and I'm here representing Council President Blaine Griffin and our council body this afternoon. Thank you so much to members of the media for being here. I am also joined by my Cleveland City Council colleague, Stephanie House. We are in her ward this afternoon. And also I will be introducing Mark Griffin, who is Law Director and Chief Legal Counsel for the City of Cleveland, to provide an update and some remarks. And we have important findings to share with you today. But first, I want to provide some context about how we got here. On March 21st, 2023, in the aftermath of the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, Cleveland City Council held a rail safety informational hearing, along with representatives of the mayor's administration. Although many important topics were touched upon during the hearing, Class 1 railroad-owned bridge condition emerged as a prominent and widespread problem, affecting nearly every ward across the city of Cleveland. Since that time, there has been a fair degree of attention to the bridge infrastructure issue, including media coverage by the Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com, as well as television and other media coverage. We would like to thank you for helping us to keep this issue at the forefront. I would also be remiss if I did not recognize U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown and his team, who have diligently pursued railroad infrastructure concerns, both in Cleveland and across the state of Ohio. In a letter dated May 23rd, Senator Brown directly called on the three largest Class 1 railways operating in Ohio, Norfolk Southern, CSX, and Canadian National Railway, to address infrastructure concerns. In that letter, Senator Brown stated, "Structural integrity is vital, but it is not sufficient. Decaying, decrepit bridges remain a threat to local communities. Anything less than full repair of all your infrastructure in Ohio communities is insufficient." And the Lake Avenue Bridge in my ward earned the distinction of a letter from Senator Brown directly to Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw. With that, I'd now like to invite Councilwoman Stephanie House to say a few words, as we are standing right next to the East 39th and Superior Bridge in Ward 7, which is number 10 on the City of Cleveland bridges list.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much to my colleague, Councilwoman Jenny Spencer, for really leading the charge on behalf of Cleveland City Council to raise the awareness about our significant infrastructure challenges when it comes to our bridges and our railroads. As you can see, and hopefully for our news media partners that are here, before you leave, or if you can go and take a look at the bridge, you will actually be able to see, this is one of when the request was called for community members to bring forth the infrastructures that they thought were problematic. This bridge was identified for our partner, St. Clair Superior Development Corporation, where you can see not only for the lighting for our pedestrians, but you can actually see the leaking. There are some debris that's coming through, and we know that this should not be a standard, not only here in Ward 7, but it shouldn't be a standard here in Cleveland. And so we need our for-profit businesses, that this is their asset, that we want to see them invest to improve the conditions. And we are also looking for what the federal infrastructure dollars can do. Looking forward to working with the administration, also our county government partners, state partners, to make sure Cleveland will get its fair share of infrastructure dollars. That is what this historic investment is, and working with the private companies, just to ensure that what we see today, when we look from 2 to 3 years from now, that this will not be the case, and the danger that it provides to our communities will not be there. So with that, I am going to transition it over to our Law Department Director, Mark. Mark, take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm Mark Griffin. I'm the Law Director for the City of Cleveland, here on behalf of Mayor Justin Bibb. I want to first of all thank Councilwoman Spencer and Councilwoman House for their hearings and their focus on this very serious problem. City Council has done a tremendous job of raising awareness having meetings and looking at the information and sending a message to us in the administration to make sure that we are on top of things also. This is not just a local problem, it is a national problem, and it came to our attention throughout the country by the calamitous accident in East Palestine. And what people may not remember is that just a few days later, there was another train derailment in Springfield, Ohio, with 28 cars going off the rails. And that was a Norfolk Southern train. And in fact, although it seemed to be unusual at the time, it actually is not. According to the Federal Railroad Administration, in 2022, there were more than 1,000 train derailments in the United States. According to their numbers, there were 1,164 train derailments across the country last year. And that means our country is averaging 3 train derailments every single day. And those are not innocent derailments. Last year, there were 11 train accidents that spewed dangerous chemicals across the community. And as you know, trains come through the city of Cleveland every single day. So this is a problem across our country from east to west, but also from East Palestine to East 118th, from the east side of Cleveland to the west side of Cleveland as trains come through. So as the incidence and the impact is local, the problem is national. And so I want to also thank Senator Sherrod Brown and Congresswoman Shontel Brown for all of their assistance in trying to move the federal administration forward. What we're doing here on the local level is to make sure that everyone is on notice and that we have information to move the Federal Railroad Administration and the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. And so Mayor Bibb ordered his Office of Capital Projects to do a comprehensive review of every railroad bridge in the city of Cleveland. We looked at 99 railroad bridges that need inspections. Of those, 23 are critical railroad bridge infrastructure problems that we believe need immediate inspection, immediate maintenance, and immediate repairs. There are also 76 non-critical railroad bridges as well that need maintenance due to everything from falling concrete to the potential for disaster. As you see behind us, this is number 10. This is the Superior Avenue Bridge at East 39th. And on that bridge, the Mayor's Office of Capital Repairs and Capital Improvements found failing bridge bearings, a need to repair the concrete columns and retaining walls over the roadway, the need to scale, repair, and seal abutments. And if you look through the comprehensive report, you will see that need is throughout the 99 railroad bridge projects we've identified. But some of this also has to do with the oversight by the federal government. So for example, on the 12th item on your chart, the Cedar Avenue Bridge, they were ordered to complete the concrete encasement in 2015. Today, 8 years later, that has still not been done. And so that's why it's so important to be here today to raise this issue and to demand that the federal government, the state government, and the railroads take care of these things. Every bridge is important. Every bridge matters to our city, every bridge matters to our neighbors, and every bridge matters to our children, because we don't want to have what happened in East Palestine happen here in the city of Cleveland. So what are we doing? First and foremost, we are calling attention to the problem. City Council has done a tremendous job of holding hearings and moving this forward. Second, we're demanding action by the federal and state authorities. On June 5th, we issued a letter to the Federal Railroad Administration and the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio to put them on notice, to say and to request for inspection, request for remediation, and to request for enforcement of the standards that they are obligated to uphold and enforce. Next, we're sending these letters directly to the primary railway companies, to CSX and Norfolk Southern. So to them we say, don't tell us you don't know, because now you do. We expect you to fix these bridges, and if you don't, we will hold you responsible. We're sharing this report with our state and federal partners so that they will move forward, and we're looking at every tool in our civil and criminal toolbox to make sure that we can enforce these to the extent that we can. So our plan at the city is communication. We're communicating with the Public Utilities Commission, the Federal Railroad Administration, communicating with the railways. Coordination, working with our federal partners, and consistency. Communication, coordination, and consistency. So our message to the railroad companies today is clean up your act. Our message to the federal and state authorities is do your job. And our message to our citizens is we hear you. we're going to do everything we can within our power to protect you, to protect your health, and to protect your safety. And so I want to thank Councilwoman Spencer and Councilwoman House and all of City Council for working with us and pushing this issue forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Griffin. I'm going to open this up for questions shortly. I did want to just put a pin in this moment and note that really the focus of today is this critical rail infrastructure, this bridges survey. I cannot speak highly enough of the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects that they went out and made sure that every single bridge was directly inspected and that the results were compiled and will be delivered for next steps. So today is really about that finding. But this also really highlights our intention and desire to keep residents updated on rail progress. So I also want to touch briefly on a couple other actions that have occurred or are underway. So in March, Cleveland City Council passed resolution number 340-2023, which called on Congress and the Ohio General Assembly to enact legislation to further protect the citizens of the city of Cleveland from the inherent dangers of a train derailment. In May, the Ohio General Assembly did pass House Bill 23 as part of the transportation budget, which requires two-person rail crews on trains and strengthens requirements for wayside detectors. Additionally, efforts continue at the federal level to advocate for the Railway Safety Act of 2023, which is co-sponsored by U.S. Senators Sherrod Brown and J.D. Vance. The Railway Safety Act of 2023 passed out of the Senate Commerce Committee in May, but it has not yet come to the Senate floor for a vote. There is also a companion bill in the U.S. House. So again, we hope that today will not be the last update to the community on rail safety. But with that, I'd like to open it up to questions from the media about our findings today.
Is there any cost associated with this survey to make these repairs? Like, was it just saying that this is our list, these are our problems, you guys figure out the cost, or is there any dollar amount like slapped on this bridge?
So the question is whether there's a dollar amount. The answer to that is we have not put a dollar amount on it. First and foremost, the responsibility is for the railroads to take care of their own bridges. They are financially responsible for making sure that they are up to code. Secondly, there's a responsibility by state and federal regulators to ensure that they uphold that. And our role here today is to highlight them and put them on notice. Regardless of the cost, they need to make sure their bridges are safe.
Mark, you mentioned that there was an order for whoever's responsible for this bridge to maintain it. Who was ordered to fix it up and who didn't?
Yeah, so actually it's not this bridge. It's a bridge on Cedar Avenue that was ordered in 2015. I believe it was a Federal Railroad administration, and I can tell you who owns the bridge if you give me 1 second. That bridge is a Norfolk Southern mid-track bridge, which is Cedar Avenue west of Ashland. They were ordered to complete the concrete encasement in 2015. That repair is failing, and we have concerns about the bearings there as well.
Well, I think that there is enough, the city has enough here to bring a lawsuit against the government.
Yeah, so there are some things that we can do and some things that we can't do. There's there's federal preemption for many of the claims. We are looking into our civil and criminal toolbox to figure out what we can do. Our first step, though, is to work with state and federal authorities, and then we'll make decisions at the time and place of our choosing about how to move forward with this.
But when you said federal preemption, that means that the city in some ways doesn't have standing to sue.
We are limited in some causes of action, and in others we think that we are not. So I think on some issues we can and will move forward, and on others it's the responsibility of the federal and state authorities, which is why we've put them on notice and sent a letter to them saying, please, this is your primary responsibility.
I know the hope is for action here, right? Realistically, what indications do you have? Have you been in touch with the state, the FRA, the railroad companies to understand if they're open to doing any of this?
My understanding is that there has been communication with actually both of the major railways, and I think that they've spoken with Councilwoman Spencer. Do you want to?
I can just provide one example from Ward 15. The Lake Avenue Bridge is one that was designated as a Cleveland landmark last year due to its historic significance and its physical attributes that are just deteriorating. Similar to the bridge behind us, we're losing a lot of that historic character. So it was deemed a Cleveland landmark. So it had already been really in the public eye and people knew about this bridge. I also had a tremendous group of residents advocating. They put up signs on the bridge years ago saying, fix this bridge, right? Begging for the railroads to do something. As of now, with that particular bridge, that was the subject of a very specific letter from U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown to Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw on May 9th. And there was a response less than a week later from Alan Shaw back to Senator Brown, which basically stated we're working on it. And what they did do that very same week was they went out and, I mean, it's like miracles. They did power wash the sidewalk, which actually for residents was a big deal because the sidewalk had been very slick. There was runoff, mud, debris from the underside of that bridge, and it had basically been impassable for residents for a very long period of time. I was receiving direct phone calls from the regional vice president for Ohio and West Virginia for Norfolk Southern, and I'm awaiting their final determination of how they will address the Lake Avenue Bridge. It's worth noting that the Lake Avenue Bridge is not amongst the 23 that are deemed critical on this list. It's number 56 on the list. It was surveyed, but I think that today's purpose is really to highlight the scope and the scale of the need. It is the responsibility of the railroad owners. This is their property. And so I think Chief Griffin put it very well. They can't say that they didn't know. And I'm hoping that I will certainly do my part, but I know the mayor's administration will be working carefully and closely with the railroads directly to chart a path forward and have that conversation.
Essentially, it feels like that these railroad companies have been operating under the mindset of if it's not broke, don't fix it, or there's no preventative maintenance being done. Do you think they're just waiting on another disaster to happen, like waiting for this bridge to fall apart while it's under load?
Well, that is the reason why we're here. We are trying to be more preventative and really trying to bring our partners to the table to ensure that each of us who have assets like our railroad and bridges, that they can be properly taken care of. And that's the thing too with the passage of the Federal Infrastructure Act. This is an opportunity, these historical investments where companies, who may need some assistance, may be able to partner with our local community to go after these much needed funds so that these assets that have been neglected over the years can be properly repaired.
This might be a question for MOCAT, but of the 23 that you identified in the report, are there any that are more critical than others, or any specific bridge that might?
So I'm gonna call Director DeRosa. He is the director of capital projects, and he may be able to shed some light to see if there are any of the 23 that are more critical in Cheney. So, Director, thank you.
Good afternoon. So the bridges are ranked in the 23 that are critical, and so I believe that list was provided to the press as well. So we're happy to dig into any questions you might have about that list. But if you go through it, they're ranked from the top to the bottom with the ones that need addressed first. I don't have that exact list identified off the top of my head, but it's out there in black and white that we could go through with you.
Well, in general, what separates something that's would be considered critical versus something?
Oh yeah. So the differences are that if it's a structural issue, that would make it a critical on the critical list. So there's a lot of issues that you see that are more cosmetic. And they may look like they're structural, but it's really just a cosmetic issue. So if it's chipping or spalling, that's a little bit different than having beams missing or the parapet or the wing walls crumbling.
This letter that was sent out to the Public Utilities Commission, this is just one step, I guess, in the process. Like, you get to demand action, and then if that doesn't happen, then what?
That's right. This is just one step in the in the process. So we're going to continue to do a couple of things. One is we're continuing to raise the awareness here. We're going to continue to work with Senator Brown and Congresswoman Brown as well to work there. With respect to the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, we will continue to work with our statewide delegation to push that forward as well. And then we are going to look at what other civil or criminal action we can bring. This is the first start. And let me just say, we're not going to give you our full roadmap at this time because, first of all, we don't want to let that out. And secondly, it will change as the facts change.
Right. And then the bipartisan infrastructure law, do you know how much money the city of Cleveland has received from that to go towards stuff like this?
Received?
Yeah.
I don't.
Or will receive.
We don't have it yet.
We don't know that yet.
Can I add? I would just want to add to that. It is, I think it's an important point that we're going to need to explore. There are certain funds available through the federal government that are available to Class 2 railroads that are not available to Class 1 railroads. These are major corporations with significant profits. And in my conversations with Senator Sherrod Brown's office, at this point, they're operating on the assumption that their railroads should take responsibility. So a lot of that remains to be seen. So I think that that's part of the dialogue with them. We expect that. I think, it's we do have to take the city needs to take the formal steps that Chief Griffin delineated, but that ongoing correspondence and conversation with the railway companies is going to be so critical. And honestly, it is a relationship, right? It's like any other human relationship that we have, that we need to maintain an open line of communication with them. They do actually conduct their own annual inspections. There is an inspection process. So it's time to compare notes. What are your inspections yielding? Why are our inspections saying something different? We got to reach consensus. So it's really going to be an all of the above approach. And it's unclear at this time whether these Class 1 railroads may be eligible for dollars and they may not be.
Then back in March, as a Norfolk Southern train passes over now, I think council said they can subpoena to have Norfolk Southern come here. Have you guys taken that step since then, or is that something that they have the power to do?
City Council has the authority to issue administrative subpoenas, and whether they choose to do that, of course, that'll be up to their judgment and discretion.
It hasn't been enacted.
No, we haven't done that. We really focused on reestablishing a working relationship. So between council and Mayor Bibb's administration, making sure that we have solid relationships with Norfolk Southern and CSX is critically important. And so, again, this is an ongoing process. We hope to come back and update the community on future occasions, right? This is not the end of the story. This is one important benchmark that we've reached in terms of accountability for our residents. But I think we can come back with further updates to the community as we move along.
Do you feel like that communication is good or bad, or how would you rate it?
It is much. It has gone from non-existent to existing. That's how I would characterize it.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.